part of certain sectors relating to technology, IT, intellectual property, data analytics, bio and nanotechnology. Only these companies can apply to be part of the IGP platform. Here also requirements are there additionally. You should at least have 25% of the pre-issue capital should be held by QIBs, which we saw in the previous chapter, or a family trust with a net worth of more than 500 crores for at least 2 years. So basically what they are saying is 25% of your company's previous capital should be held by same people. There should not be a lot of fluctuations in the people who have invested in your company in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, you also need to ensure that if you are not giving the securities to QIBs, it should be held by a family trust. Now, apart from this, foreign portfolio investors are also allowed to invest in your company because you are in the technology sector. Any entity that has 150 million US dollars worth of funding available to them. So any foreign portfolio investor with 150 million pounds and who is also registered in the financial sector in their respective countries, they are part of IOSCO Memorandum of Understanding. IOSCO means International Organization of Securities Commission. So just like you have a World Bank, where different countries are members of the World Bank, and World Bank reports to United Nations. Similarly, IOSCO is basically like the United Nations for securities market regulators. So just like India has SEBI, USA has SEC, different countries have different SEBI-like entities and different stock exchanges. So all the countries' regulators and stock exchanges, they will come together and they are part of this international association that are called as IOSCO. They have signed the MOU. Some countries in the world are not part of this MOU. So if you are not part of this MOU, you cannot invest in India. Basically, that is what is the summary of this particular point. You should be a IOSCO registered country and you have to be a foreign portfolio investor from such IOSCO registered country. In addition to this, you should also be part of the FATF task force, which is Financial Action Task Force. This is a money laundering organization which regulates anti-money laundering activities. So just like World Bank is for banking institutions, IOSCO is for security market institutions, FATF is for anti-money laundering institutions. So entities like RBI and the major banks of every country will be part of this task force. So if you are negatively recognized by this task force, you also cannot invest in India. So to summarize, if you want to be part of the investor growth platform, you need at least 2 years of stable investment from QIBs and also from any family trust. If you want to take foreign funding, you can take it only from foreign portfolio investors under category 3. There are 3 categories of FPI which we saw in this previous chapter. So you can only take it from category 3. And this FPI should be IOSCO compliant and PATF compliant. Only then this foreign portfolio investor can invest in this company's IPO in the IGP platform. That is how the terminology is to be understood. Okay. Last comes your most recent stock exchange board, which is your social stock exchange. This is for voluntary organizations and social enterprises. So mainly entities that are part of this particular group are usually non-profit organizations. So whenever a non-profit organization wants to raise money from the stock market, they can get registered in this particular platform. So similar rules apply there. Since you're a non-profit organization or a for-profit social enterprise, you're basically trying to help the society in certain areas. So our government has identified which areas that these companies have to be working for. They have to work towards poverty eradication, healthcare, education, gender equality, environment sustainability, heritage and national art and culture protection, sports, incubation of social enterprises, and any other rural or urban upliftment and disaster management program. If you want to raise money for these social causes, you can also approach BSE and NSE under this particular segment. So if you really look at it, you have the main board for full-fledged companies who want to be raising the maximum amount of money. Then you have small and medium enterprises, IGP platform, and social stock exchange. These are the 4 segments of both BSE and NSE. To invest in the stock exchange also has to follow margin requirements. There are 2 types of margin: initial margin and maintenance margin. Initial margin is the minimum amount you should have in your demat account before you purchase any shares. So it's an amount that you have to maintain before the actual purchase. So if the initial margin is 10%, let's say, and you want to buy 1,000 shares of Infosys, which is going at 1,400. So 1,400 into 1,000 is 14 lakhs, and 10% of 14 lakhs is 1,40,000. You should at least have 1,40,000 in your margin account. Only then you will be allowed to place an order for 14 lakhs. This rule doesn't apply for retail investors like you and me. Okay, you and me have to have entire 14 lakhs in our account, then only we can place our order. But special category investors, brokers and lenders, they can place orders just by fulfilling the margin requirements. So different brokers have different margin requirements for their securities. It is usually around 20 to 50%. It keeps fluctuating from time to time. And you have to maintain this much amount in your account before you place the order. So that is your initial margin. Once you have placed the order, suppose you place the order and Infosys then increase to 1,470 rupees at the end of the day. So based on the market price at the end of the day, the closing price, how many shares of Infosys you have? You have 1,000 shares of Infosys. So 14,70,000 rupees is the total value of your investment. So based on the closing price, a certain percentage has to be maintained as the maintenance margin also. So before placing order, the amount that you have to maintain is initial margin. After placing the order, the amount that you have to maintain is the maintenance margin. Alright, so these are the two types of margin that you have to maintain as a special category investor in the market. So we have studied from the beginning. Let's recap. The types of intermediaries in the market. We saw the origins of the market from BSE being started as a body of individuals. We saw corporatization and demutualization, the ability to convert into a company, the advantages and role of the stock exchange that it plays in our economy, the features of Indian stock exchanges, the regulations that Indian stock exchanges should follow, the current trading mechanism, which is at T+1. There are two different types of securities, which are listed and permitted securities. Then we saw intermediaries, primary market we've already seen. We saw a few secondary market intermediaries today. Then we got into the actual stock exchange platform and different types of derivatives contract. You have futures and options contract in India. You have both long and short position. So in terms of securities, you have listed and permitted. In terms of margin, you have initial and maintenance margin. In terms of position, you have long and short position. In terms of option, you have call and put option. In terms of prices, you have spot and future prices. In terms of derivatives, you have currency, commodity, and security derivatives. In terms of different segments, you have the main board, you have the SME board, you have the IGP board, and you have the social stock exchange. So this is the summary of the topics that we have learned. Next class we will wrap up.